So we want employees to stay in our organizations, and we're always trying different things to make sure that happens. And there's so many sources and so much noise about telling us about what employees really want. I've got someone with me today who's got a pretty plain and simple, view on what it takes, and it really resonates. I'm looking forward to that conversation coming up right now. Hi there, I'm Andrea Adams, and this is the HR Hub. On the show, we provide all kinds of insights into HR. I encourage you to subscribe to the show or to the podcast to keep learning from my guests. So today, my guest is again Dr. Roger Gerard. Roger's a speaker, author, and executive coach, and a consultant. And he spent years in healthcare trying things that would keep senior leaders and employees engaged and staying in their organizations. He was a chief learning officer for 23 years for a Wisconsin-based healthcare organization. And he recently wrote a book, the third of his books. And this latest one is called Lead with Purpose. Hi, Roger. How are you?
Hi, Andrea. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Looking forward to this because you do have a way of just taking it back to the basics without totally dismissing all the research that's out there. But I like it. So we're talking a little bit about retention, why employees would stay in an organization. What's the biggest misconception about why employees stay?
Let's flip that question around a little bit, and let's start by asking, when you bring professionals into your organization, why do they want to be there? And once we have an understanding of why employees want to be there and what they expect from their leadership, then we can more effectively determine how to get them engaged and then keep them engaged over time.
I know, when you said that, I was like, why do you want to join an organization? Well, of course, I want to get paid, of course,
Yes.
because I need to feed, family, whatever. But then immediately after, once I skip over that thought, it's to do good work. That's why I want to be there.
To do good work, but among people, and I work with a lot of people who are professionals in their work. That means they've got degrees and licenses and certifications and all kinds of things that come with that preparation for the job. They want to do good work, but they also want some other things from their leaders as well. And we'll talk a little bit about that. What people want from their leaders is not just to do good work, but to have the freedom to do the right thing in that work. And sometimes that's tricky because
yes, it sure
leaders
is.
want work done a certain way at a certain time, using certain methodologies and tools. And my professional training might tell me that maybe there's another way, maybe there's a better way, maybe there's a way that we need to tweak this. And that starts to challenge the relationship between the professional and the leader. So it's doing good work, but doing the right good work is a big deal. Second, people expect to come into an environment of safety. That's physical safety, it's psychological safety, it's no bullying, it's no shaming and blaming. It's an environment where we get to learn together and work together and try things and maybe sometimes fail together, but still we're doing that together. If you don't have an environment of safety, people aren't going to want to stay there very long. Third thing, they expect to be able to use judgment and autonomy. A nurse has anywhere from 4 to 6 years of professional training after high school. A physician anywhere from 8 to 12 years. Many technical support areas have 4-year degrees and licenses. These people expect to be able to practice their profession with some autonomy and not be second-guessed, not be judged by people who aren't in their profession. And when you don't give them that, they don't want to stay there very long. Um, People expect to be able to use that judgment, and they expect to be able to focus on what matters most as the daily things happen during the course of their work. Not everything is planned. Not everything is scripted. Not everything can be
Mm,
standardized and routinized. And professionals are trained to be able to be flexible and move in the moment. If leaders don't allow that level of judgment and flexibility, professionals aren't going to want to stay there.
yeah. In that, in each of those statements, freedom, safety, judgment, autonomy, and doing what matters in the moment, excuse me, there's tension in each of those statements. Like, let's say, for example, someone thinks, oh, it's really important to do this by hand when there's perfectly good technology that will do that. But in saying, no, you have to use the technology, or you really should use the technology, we're sort of we're taking away their freedom. Um, we're undermining their judgment, their autonomy. All in that. How do you deal with that?
As you described that situation, um, what I would point at is we tend to come at these ideas and changes as kind of a mandate. It has to happen. Um,
Hmm.
I would prefer to come to a group of people, say transcriptionists. We had a situation in which, in one organization I was working with, 120 transcriptionists transcribing medical records and physician notes and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
And
perfect.
we went to online transcription. But in that same organization, we had a commitment to no layoffs. So what that meant was that in the organization, we were going to find a way to keep these people whole until they were in their next career position in the organization.
Hmm.
By the time we were done, nobody was unhappy. Everybody was placed. It took us months, but the reputation we got in HR and in the consulting world that I come from, the reputation we got from that was incredibly powerful. People in the community knew that we took care of our people.
That's very antithetical to what happens most often in the workforce today.
You're exactly right.
I mean, if they don't fit, they're gone.
Yeah.
And they're often given a lot of money, but they're gone.
They're laid off. They're put on unemployment for a while, and then they got to scramble. And some people, if the jobs aren't available, they end up doing whatever they have to do to survive.
Yeah,
That's wrong. That's that. Organizations expect loyalty from their employees,
it's
but they don't give
hilarious.
loyalty back. That's a two-way street.
It so is. It so is. It's one of my pet peeves these days around how, you know, you want and it's a societal problem where all these employers are struggling with retaining their top talent, but their talent cannot stay because if they stay, they're stagnant in the market, or you let them go because at some point they're no longer relevant. And so, to protect their own career and long term health, they have to go. And we've created, as a society, this problem that retention is so difficult.
We've created a retention problem because we have a loyalty problem. We expect loyalty from people, but we don't expect ourselves to give that loyalty back. What is wrong with that picture? And people know it. The layoffs, the mistreatment of people throughout the changes that are going on societally, um, COVID, and how people were treated during COVID from an employment standpoint. I mean, so many things took place that challenged whether or not corporations really can exhibit loyalty to the people doing the daily work of the organization. It's unfortunate that we've created this mindset, but I believe it can be changed. But it means leaders have to begin thinking and doing things differently than we've done them traditionally in the past.
So on the flip side, you talk about five promises, and I think this might be in your book.
Oh, yes.
Five promises to retain and engage employees. Can you just list those quickly?
Promise number one, I will listen to you with respect and take your input seriously. If we disagree, I'll tell you why. Promise number two, I will help you learn and grow as you practice your professional work. Promise number three, I will help you be wildly successful as you do that work. Promise number four, I will make sure you're compensated competitively. And promise number five, I'll have your back when things go wrong. And things will go wrong. Those are the five promises that I ended both of my last two books with. And I can tell you that they are crucial to building a culture of engagement. And
Mhm.
as I've done my consulting work and some of the internal work that I've done over the years, I have found that it's not so much making the promises, it's living the promises
Oh,
where it matters. Words. It's not the words. It's what you're doing every day with people.
when I look at that list, I'm like, can I work there? I would like to work there. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
work for work for someone who's going to make those promises. But there's tension uh, in each of those, and
Yes.
I want to dig in. But so one of your promises is around the second one is helping. I will help you learn and grow.
Mhm.
And most employers will say, we're doing our best there. We really are. We're trying to help you learn and grow.
And they'll also tell you that they treat people with respect and take their input seriously. We'll go back to number one, and we're not ready to go to number two yet because
Okay, we're not ready. All right, go for it.
you got to understand number one before number two makes sense. Promise number one is listening with respect and taking input seriously. That's easy when you agree with the input. It's easy when you're neutral on the input. It's not so easy when you disagree with the input. What is your process as a leader to disagree with respect? Are you willing to have your position influenced? If you've come to the decision or the conversation unwilling to have your position influenced, I define that as disrespectful.
Mm.
Either you've got professionals who are going to tell you the truth and tell you what you need to hear, or you don't. And if you're not listening with respect and listening, being willing to be influenced by their perspective, why do you have them there?
And then part of me just wants to be the devil's advocate. I have them there because I need, let's say, in the case of medical professionals or something, I need this radiology activity to happen. I just need those reports read. Do it.
And so they say, sure, boss, and they go do it at the expense of patient care and keep somebody waiting for 90 minutes or 3 days
Mm,
or however long
yeah.
it's to schedule an
Yeah.
appointment because they're doing your administrative work for you. And by the way, they're cynical about it now and they don't like you at all.
Yeah. The how matters. A lot of that's a bit of a theme in the show is a bit the how matters. So respect and listening and respect's the foundation. But back to that question about learning and growing,
Sure.
are we
Now,
helping them learn and grow? We've got a
leader.
LMS, we're doing, we've got
Well,
training programs and we've got a performance management program focused on development. Aren't we doing that?
that is probably one third of the game. All the academic stuff, the in services, the
Yeah.
learning management system, the tuition reimbursement. I was responsible for all that stuff for
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
and that's less than one third of the game.
What's the rest?
People learn academically maybe 10 to 15% of the load.
Yes. Yes.
They learn through mentoring about
Yes.
40% of the load.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it is through practical application. The leaders have to understand that a lot of the learning takes place while doing the actual work.
That's right.
And
All
if
right.
leaders don't understand that, they're going to be very hypercritical of mistakes. They're going to be hypercritical of processes that they don't understand. They're going to be
Oh,
hypercritical in micromanaging people to do things that the leaders really shouldn't be micromanaging. And it happens every day.
yes.
Um, if I'm going to help you learn and grow, I'm going to give you some autonomy and we're going to have some conversations about what are the successes you had today? What are the mistakes that you made today? What are you changing in how you do your work because of what you've learned today? What kind of changes can we expect tomorrow? And how can I help you make all of that happen? That's how
Yeah.
you help somebody grow. And by the way, professionally, where do you want to go with your profession and how can I help you get there?
Okay. We're going to get to those. I have to ask though, like I often, like as a consultant, I'll have, and I'm a consultant to like an HR consultant. So acting either as the HR director or manager or even like a business partner. And the leader will come to me and I'm just thinking of a client. They're saying, okay, I've invested so much time in this person. I have given them training. They're just not getting it. What do they do with that person?
Well, you got a couple of, you have to ask two questions. Is this a willingness issue
No,
on the part of the learner?
nope.
Because if it's not, if the learner wants to learn, then we might have an ability issue. Is the learner capable of learning this? Some people are really incapable of learning what we want them to learn. And if we've taken 5 stabs at it or 10 stabs at it and they're still not getting it, it might be time to back off and say, okay, how can we more effectively use this person? And it's find some other way to get this done because this isn't going to work. And we can't, frankly, when I see a manager starting to get frustrated, the problem isn't the employee, the problem's the manager. Frustration is a signal that you're not doing something effectively. And now we got to figure out why you're frustrated and maybe let's look at this problem differently than you're looking at it. You seem obsessed with the idea of making this person do this work. This person might never be able to do this work. Sometimes the right thing to do is to help that employee do something different. I'll tell you a second
You know,
story.
it's so true. It is actually true.
There's a second story that drives the point home even further. We had a nurse in one organization who wasn't performing well. She had absentee issues, tardiness issues. She had an attitude issue that we couldn't quantify, and something was seriously wrong. And we had to terminate her. And
Mhm.
I presided over the meeting between her and her boss when we terminated her. And I made it very clear to her that not only did we have to terminate her employment, but I had to file with the state and remove her license for this. And she couldn't practice nursing anymore. 6 months went by, and I got a note on my desk from my assistant basically saying, so and so, her name, wants to meet with you. Well, now, I'm wondering,
Brace yourself.
do I call security? What's going to happen here?
Yeah.
But she came in, and this woman presented herself entirely different. She came in sharp, well dressed, happy, a shine on her face that was just wonderful to see, a big smile on her face. And she reached out her hand to shake my hand and said, "Thank you." I said, "For what?" And she said, "You are the first person to do the right thing about my misbehaviors. I was in an abusive relationship. I was using drugs. My life was a mess. And because of the decision you made, I'm a better person for it today. I'm studying electronics. I'm studying uh, computers, and I'm going into an entirely new profession today. And
Yeah.
I thank you for putting me on that path." That can happen. It's pretty
It,
rare, but when it does, it makes the point.
yeah, I think it actually happens. Doesn't happen all the time. To be clear, it doesn't happen all the time, but I think it happens more often than we think.
It does.
But that's not to say that we should be taking the easy way out just because they're going to be better off and make ourselves
No,
feel better,
no, no.
right?
But this sometimes that's what you have to do to help people be wildly successful.
Ah. Speaking of wild success, how
Yeah.
do you help people be wildly successful? Like, that's a fun one. Tell me about that.
It, what you have to understand is where they want to go with their profession, where they want to go with their career. Nobody's permanent. I hate it when I hear people say permanent employee. It's just that there is no such thing. That's nonsense.
No, there isn't, but yeah.
And we ought to be growing people so they can move on, either
Hmm.
within the organization or somewhere else. We can help people be wildly successful by offering to mentor them, offering to help them advance their careers if they want that. Some don't want it. Some are very happy doing exactly what they're doing, where they're doing it, and they want to stay there. Okay, then how do I help you be successful doing that? What are the things? How can I remove Excedrin headaches from your world? How can I arrange your work so that you continue to be satisfied and happy doing the work that you're doing today? It's all part of the conversation.
Yeah. The fourth promise was around compensation. So, uh, people have different compensation expectations. Like, just maybe thinking about my husband, sometimes he's like, he just believes without maybe a whole lot of evidence that he should be paid more. So, how do you meet people's compensation expectations without ceding to their unrealistic expectations?
Back in the 30s, one of the labor leaders, I forget who, was asked, what do your members want? His answer was more.
Yes, so
Everybody
true.
wants, everybody wants more. And so you know the right answer to the question, right? The question is, do you really understand where people fit in compensation wise? Compensation is less about paying the bills for many professionals and more about, are you valued? Yes, we have to pay the bills, and I want to know that I'm compensated competitively. I don't want to be compensated as a lagging compensation against my peers in other organizations. I at least want to be compensated competitively, and that's not necessarily the 50 percentile comp ratio. I, because of lagging data, we talked about this in an earlier podcast. You really ought to be around the 65 percentile.
Hmm.
If you want to be market leader, you're going to have to compensate around the 75 percentile. It's just how it works. And you'll attract the finest talent because that's where they want to go. Compensation means you value someone at a certain level. It's about valuing the professional. And people look at that. They'll take the higher paying job if it means I'm valued there. Then they'll look at the culture, they'll look at the boss, they'll look at history, and I'll be advising them before you take the offer, even though it's a lot of money. You better look at other things. But everybody looks at the money first. I don't care
They
who
do
you
look at the money first, and for sure, we all know just how much those other things matter. But yes,
are.
we start at the money.
Yeah, the money
Yeah.
says whether or not you value me.
The other one, your fifth promise, I will have your back. Woo! That's a
Yeah.
tricky one. Like, what if someone does something unethical?
Well, there are going to be boundaries and limits on it. Illegal stuff, no way.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have somebody's back if they show up at work under the influence of a substance. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to send them to lab, and we're going to do a drug test, and we're going to find out what the influence is. And if they've been doing some wrong things, they're gone. Because we have certain rules and policies in place for the protection of our customers, our patients, our
Yes.
fellow
Yes.
employees. So all that is notwithstanding. What I worry about is in the normal course of events, things are going to go wrong.
Yes.
We're
Yes.
going to
Okay.
find unexpected consequences. We're going to find people who didn't cooperate the way we thought they should cooperate, and maybe they're working with a different set of expectations and rules. too often we degenerate into a blame and shame kind of psychology. Well, where does that lead us? When I blame someone for things going wrong, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to get defensive.
Yes.
So now we're going to have an argument. The second thing they're going to do is they're going to blame someone else. You pass it on. Okay, is it all the way down to kick the cat, right? This is one of those things where it's just this natural human reaction to blame and shame. No one likes to be shamed. Zero. If I were to ask 500 people, raise your hand if you like to be shamed, I might get one or two weird people, but most people will not raise their hand for that one. The reality is we use blame and shame all the time as leaders, and we should not be doing that because it just fosters more blame and shame, defensiveness, and behaviors in time consumption that is totally, completely useless.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody makes a mistake or we have unintended consequences, maybe we should celebrate. Maybe we should say, wow, that's a learning. Something happened here that we didn't expect. What can we learn from this? And you tell me, since it happened to you, you tell me what we ought to be doing tomorrow so that this doesn't happen again. We're learning together.
Yeah.
When somebody learns something through a mistake, they've learned it forever.
It's so much more powerful than never making a mistake. What is in all of this, in your 5 promises, what is HR's role?
HR's role, in my opinion and in my past practice, has been as the referee of the culture. Sometimes I've referred to it as the keeper of the culture, but that's inaccurate. The entire executive team should be the keeper of the culture. The HRs, you should have a whistle and a striped shirt, and you should be the referee. I have presented myself to many of the CEOs I've worked with as a truth teller. I've basically said, I'm going to tell you the truth, whether you want it or not. Take your leave, take your pick. But I'm not a schmoozer, and I'm not somebody who's going to try to ingratiate myself. That's not how I work. You're not paying me for that. You're paying me to tell you the truth. And as that coach, I'll bring my whistle. I'll tell you when I see things that need to be pointed at. And then you get to be the CEO and do what you need to do. But that I think is the role of HR.
Okay. All right. Let's leave it there. Where could someone learn either more about you or more about your 5 promises?
Go to my website, rogergerard.com, and you'll find links to my blogs on LinkedIn. I try to blog at least once or twice a week. So if a topic hits me and I'm curious about it, I'll dig in deep and put 300 to 400 words together. And I've done this for the better part of a couple of years now. Links to my books are out there. They'll take you right out to Amazon, and you can pick up any of the books that I've written.
Well, thanks, Roger. I want to work in that organization where I'm listened and respected. They help my growth. They help me be wildly successful. I'm compensated well, and my leader has my back. Sounds amazing. I guess I'm going to have to do it myself because I'm self-employed. But it really does sound amazing. I can see how attractive that is. Roger and I did a related episode on motivation, and a link to that is right here. Thanks for watching out there, and see you next time.